Hello, learned and astonishingly attractive pupils.
I'm Matthew Simmons, and this is Sassy Simmons Seminar, AP World History. Today we're going to discuss the major philosophies of the Zhou dynasty, which were hugely associated with the period of warring states, which took place from 403 to 221 BC. Mr. Simmons! Why are the numbers getting smaller as time goes on? Well, significantly less intelligent me from the past. The dates before the birth of Christ become increasingly smaller up until they reach the theoretical year zero, which afterwards would continue on in increasing amounts. Oh! I see. I sure hope so. Now, as I was saying, the three philosophies that greatly impacted Chinese political and cultural traditions were Confucianism, Daoism, and the most ruthless of the three, Legalism. The first philosophy we're going to be talking about today is Confucianism. This all began with a man named Confucius, who is also known as Master Philosopher Calm, not one to be told what to do or willing to settle for less. After growing up in the state of Lu in northern China with his aristocratic family, he sought higher positions, and when none were obtained, he traveled elsewhere, but later returned when his services were still not needed. Despite this failure, he was the first Chinese thinker to address political and social problems in a self-conscious way, which for those of you who don't know, means that he was aware of himself as an individual and his own being, actions, and thoughts. Serving as an educator and political advisor, he attracted many followers, and some even collected his thoughts and sayings in a book called Analytics. He was moral, ethical, but above all, practical in character. He did not bother himself with philosophical questions, nor did he deal with religious ones. He simply believed that political and social harmony developed from proper ordering of human relations. Now, this does not include the clingy high school phase teenagers go through and call relationships. I'm talking about the 5 fundamental relationships that Confucianism focuses on. Relationships include ruler and subject, parent and child, husband and wife, younger brother and older brother, and friend and friend. When these relationships are good, an orderly society is established. Confucianism also emphasizes various values. Ren, which is a sense of humanity, kindness, and benevolence, is something Confucius believed was needed in government officials. Li is another quality, which is a sense of propriety, courtesy, respect, and indifference to elders. Zhao, which is also known as filial piety, is the respect for family obligations that includes remembrance of ancestors after their death. These all lead to self-control and good administration that will influence a larger society. Confucianism was elaborated and adapted over time, which can be seen from his disciples, Mencius and Zhangzi. constructed Confucian tradition, but had little effect during his lifetime. He had an optimistic outlook on life and believed that humans were good by nature, which led him to highly advocate the value of Ren. He traveled a lot throughout China and the period of the Warring States, offering advice along the way. Zunzi was a government official who had a less optimistic view than Mencius. He believed that humans were selfish by nature and therefore emphasized Li, which would set limits on people's individual interests and their own pursuits. While Mencius was a half-full kind of guy, Zunzi was a half-empty kind of guy. Half full, half empty, half full, half empty, half full, half empty. Either way, they all believed in the possibility to improve human beings and the ability to restore order to society through education and public behavior. Confucianism's biggest critics were the Daoists, who preached Daoism.
I think you spelled it wrong.
Oh. Maybe you shouldn't be listening to me. Anyways, they devoted their time and energy into understanding the natural principles governing the world and how to live in harmony with them. This was accomplished by reflection and introspection. Laozi, the founder of Daoism, was a sage during the 6th century. Dao, meaning the way of nature, or as some refer to it, the way of the cosmos, is the central concept of Daoism. This was a passive and yielding force that accomplishes everything, yet does nothing. Daoists advocated the formation of self-sufficient communities that counterbalance the Confucian activism. Scientific discoveries and accomplishments were made and promoted. Unlike Confucianism, where they believed in active participation in government and worldly affairs, Daoists believed in the trait wu-wei, known as the disengagement from competitive exertions and affairs of the world. This also included staying away from advanced education and personal goals, which I'm sure most of you watching this would happily agree on. The problem of the Warring States was finally solved with the development of the third and final philosophy, legalism. The idea was to promote a practical and ruthlessly efficient approach to statecraft. They only cared about strengthening and expanding the state at all cost. Legalist doctrine. The Book of Lord Shang was created by Shang Lang, who participated in Chinese political affairs and was feared because of his power and ruthlessness. Despite this fear, he was a clever and efficient administrator. Then there was Han Fizi, who is a very systematic legalistic theorist. Ironically, he was a student of the Confucian scholar previously stated, Zunzi. He also served as an advisor at the Qin court, but unfortunately he ended his life by consuming poison. What exactly made him crack? We'll never know. The goal of legalism to further the state led to the encouragement of cultivation and military service. They did not encourage individuals to become merchants and entrepreneurs, scholars, educators, philosophers, poets, or artists. Basically, anything that promoted individualism was not accepted if it did not further the state as a whole. Strict legal regimen clearly outlined expectations and provided severe punishment, swiftly administered for violators. The idea was that if people were scared to commit small crimes, they wouldn't be big crimes. Mr. Simmons! Mr. Simmons! You again. Didn't they used to cut off people's hands? Yes, less educated me from the past. Their harsh penalties included, but were not limited to, the amputations of hands and feet. What's worse is that they went to such extremes for minor infractions like littering.
Uh-oh! Littering is the devil!
I, for one, would ensure that my garbage went in the trash.
Slam dunk!
Now that you know a little bit about each philosophy, Confucianism, Daoism, and legalism, which one do you think would be best for society? I personally think that they each have their own perks and flaws, but can't help but wonder, what would it be like if you combined all three? I'm Matthew Simmons, and this is Sassy Simmons Seminar. AP World History. Have a fantastic day. This was written and produced by the dazzling Delaney and exceptional Emma Noonhoff with the help of their great textbook and their favorite teacher's assistant, the great